प्रशिक तुम अपने हाथ में रखो, थोड़ा सा तिरछा करके या ये करके, और समटाइम्स उसको थोड़ा सा मूव भी कर सकते हो, है ना।
We are having
समझते
Dr.
हो?
N.S. Rajput. He is professor in BHU, and his basic interest in the area of coming over here is that he is having an infrastructure for HPC. So what he wants to demonstrate or tell today is that we can use those infrastructure for our own computational model and so on. So I'll just give you a brief biodata of him. So Dr. Naveen Singh Rajput is professor in electronics engineering at IIT BHU Varanasi. He did his PhD on neural processing system from IIT BHU. His area of interest are various applications of neural network and artificial intelligence in communication and computational networks. He has recently established an R&D and technology extension for network communication and computational, that is NCCL at IIT BHU, with institute level IT services such as advanced proxies, academic automation server, HPC clusters using Hadoop and Sun Grid Engine have been hosted. So he has been actively involved in different computational infrastructure building in IIT BHU also. So I just welcome Dr. N.S. Rajput for his talk.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to share this thought and idea, the possibilities which we have at IIT BHU in our laboratory, network communication and computation. Before we actually proceed for this presentation, I would like to tell that actually in 1982, one of our alumni who passed out from electronics department was the senior head NVIDIA Bangalore. So when in an alumni meet he visited IIT BHU and wanted to know whether we require some servers. So seeing that we are keenly interested and we are also deprived of good many servers, they donated eventually 283 servers with even up to 128 GB RAM, 8 cores servers, and we have plenty of servers, roughly 283 servers, out of which at least 40 servers are 8 core, 4 processor, quad core each, with 128 GB RAM. So for deploying proxies, running VPNs, or for running any other service of internet related service, even one single server is more than sufficient for us. We create even up to 20 virtual machines in that, an individual machine is enough to handle the proxy load, and we have load balanced proxies. So what we mean is that we still have much infrastructure which is not being harnessed to good extent. So our idea was that there are only 2 target recipients or persons who might be able to use this cluster with good amount of usage. Will be, one is satellite data, remote sensing and kind of things, and then second is medical image processing, etc. So this is the view with which I am going to actually, I visited IIT Roorkee where we presented this model on big data processing for using Hadoop platform. So by chance, since I just returned and came here, so it was a good idea just to share that particular work with you. I am actually not typically, this talk is not prepared for this audience, but it was just a research paper which we presented at IIT Roorkee conference. So I will go ahead with this. So as we can see, the title is computational scalability. No issues. As we can see that this is the computational scalability with Apache Flume and Mahaut for large scale round the clock analysis of sensor network data. So initially when we start with, it is a sensor network. So when we will start with a sensor node, there are 2 types of sensor nodes. One is which is deprived of much battery power and also has much limited bandwidth. So this was a standard wireless sensor network which wakes up, senses data, transmits it, then once again sleeps, and that's all. Then the new type of wired sensor networks are coming where there is no dearth of power, there is no limitation in bandwidth. But these nodes are placed at even they may be placed in this hall where it is connected with power, it is connected through either UTP cable on at 100 Mbps or optical cable 1 Gbps, and on that sensor node even live IP internet enabled IP cameras are also placed. There are digital cameras that are also placed. There may be additional sensors along with routine sensors to sense temperature, humidity, routine gases and other things, right? So eventually what is happening that now this kind of wired network, wired sensor node will be generating huge data. Now suppose in this auditorium itself, if we have placed say 10 such sensor nodes, or within your IIRS campus we have placed say 1000 or 100 such nodes, and this is a mission critical area in an industry or so, then this data will be large. And if you are generating data every hour with a frequency of every hour, and then this data is being collected round the clock maybe for the next 10 years, then certainly this data is going to be very large. So that is the point what we are going to place, that now we have a wired sensor node, so which is wired and powered, as well as it generates large data. When it generates large data, it generates data round the clock 24/7 with some frequency, whatever, maybe every hour or maybe 6 hours. So accordingly we conceived one idea of creating advanced pollution monitoring system in which individual sensor node, initially we just came up with one type of sensor node. So it was a gas sensor array with 16 elements. This is a routine thick film sensor array. So it has a static response, it has dynamic response. So while it sniffs the ambient gases, we take total 8 features during each sample, and when we are taking any sample, so it will, since we have 16 elements and each element is giving 8 features, so 128 features are there. So accordingly, and now within 1 hour or 6 hours, whatever is the data which you are collecting, finally it will be saved in a file and then it will be transmitted. So accordingly, in 1 hour reference data, it is a 9 MB data which is being produced every hour. So this particular data we took, since we wanted to do a real experiment, so authentic data was taken. So from University of California, Irvine machine learning repository, so we obtained this data which was uploaded on 2013. So this is a recent data, and this file size was 9 MB, that's why the reference 9 MB data came. Otherwise your data may be different. So number one, when we obtained this data, we first explored this data. So we applied principal component analysis on that data and created, just obtained 3 first principal components and visualized those clusters. So we were able to see 6 distinct clusters within that data, and which belong to 6 different types of gases for which they had conducted an experiment, right? So therefore now, since we talked about one single sensor node of that variety, now assume that it is a networkable sensor node. In every city we are placing 10 sensor nodes in one city, and we are taking such 100 cities. So now our pollution monitoring system is spread over a large area on over 100 cities, and therefore if each node is sending 9 MB data every hour, so then within 1 hour 9 GB of data will be sent to the central node where we are receiving and storing this data, right? If I talked that round the year every hour for next 10 years this data was created, utilize 78 terabytes. So the point is, this becomes a real significant use case for a big data application, where would you store, not only single hard disk will work, hundreds of hard disks may be required, not only that within Dehradun itself it would be sufficient, maybe we would utilize storage at some other data center. Now it may also be a very big table, so your database itself will be distributed, not only your content. So therefore the only way out is the big data enablement. So our purpose should be big data platform, and therefore sensor node, since we were talking about a small gas sensor type of nodes, so that's why we chose Raspberry Pi and Arduino Uno. One experiment, one data was downloaded directly from UCI machine learning repository. Another data was created by us in-house in our own laboratory, where we used 3 types of sensors. One sensor was carbon monoxide, one sensor was LPG, and another sensor was for accelerometer. Accelerometer was giving the values in XYZ direction, so therefore in first 5 minutes we were just moving that sensor node, so different data was coming. Then in the next 5 minutes we exposed the typically the carbon monoxide sensor with the rising concentration of carbon monoxide, and respective data was captured. And then we exposed LPG sensor with LPG gas, and so therefore in the next 15 minutes of experiment we knew that first 15 minutes is when accelerometer is giving data, in the next 5 minutes this concentration is rising, and in the last 5 minutes another concentration is rising. So we had a profile well known to us. So that was the point. So this is how a sensor node was configured by us as well. Then regarding sensor node, sensor network, when you will create, each sensor node has to transfer your data reliably to your central node. Even now it is a practical case, so your node will die down, your link might fail, you might not be able to actually transfer your data, right? So there must be some mechanism which will always ensure that your data is safe, securely transferred. So Apache Flume is one of the project of Apache Hadoop which guarantees this. We will talk about that. Then Apache Hadoop is the big data framework. Then big data enabled storage, because now we are talking about terabytes or petabytes of data which will be stored. So it must be a distributed file system. Then we went ahead, then once you have distributed data stored in distributed locations, so how would you process? So number one, your process should be distributed, and MapReduce architecture should come, where main processing program will be broken into smaller programs. A smaller program will go to respective location, storage, the respective data where it has to be processed. Part of the result will be generated, and then we will talk about that eventually the parts of various results are then clubbed together to form the final result, right? So that is HDFS, MapReduce. And then when you have huge data already stored somewhere, it is good to utilize analysis tools like machine learning libraries and other things. So Apache Mahout is another machine learning library which has already been implemented in Apache Hadoop. This is an open source project and it is a live project, so there are many people who are continuously contributing in bringing more and more features into various projects. So you can also refer there. So Raspberry Pi and Arduino Uno. So Arduino Uno is all of you might be knowing, Arduino Uno is a very small Atmega 32 microcontroller with many digital pins, IO analog pins. So if physical sensors are to be integrated, you can directly integrate, write a very small code and immediately start capturing data. It has serial transmission as well as receiving pin. So if you are generating data, you can start transmitting your data serially very conveniently. So use of single board microcontrollers becomes very handy rather than using Atmega 32 directly, right? And it is a low cost product also. Then similarly, Raspberry Pi is a single board computer which model B comes with 512 MB of RAM. Okay, and it is a small credit card size of computer, which is a complete Linux machine. So, and it also comes with 100 Mbps LAN port. So it is very easily configurable. You can straight away work on Python or C, or this is a standard Linux machine, and this can always be placed remotely, to which you can always access this machine through SSH, right? So sometimes when over a large network area, whenever you want to access any machine, you want to change any configuration or anything else, you can very conveniently do this. Then this is the schematic diagram of advanced pollution monitoring system which we actually experimented with to see whether we are actually able to do that or not. So as what we did in our laboratory was 3 sensors. So Arduino Uno was the and we chose Arduino Uno because it has an analog pin. If we could have interfaced these sensors directly on Raspberry Pi, then Raspberry Pi has digital pins. So to interface analog sensor with digital pins, you require A to D converter ICs. So either you can do that, but since we had Arduino Uno, we simply directly interfaced it with Arduino Uno, and then from its serial pin, we connected Raspberry Pi. So whatever serial data was coming to Raspberry Pi Linux machine, it started capturing the data in CSV file. Okay, and then on the, this is the main part, on the Raspberry Linux machine, we installed Hadoop, and on Hadoop platform we installed Apache Flume. Flume is to be configured, so this sensor node will have some local IP or global IP wherever you have connected, and then this will be configured to transmit that file which it has stored after some stipulated time to some remote location which will also have some global or local IP. That local or global IP will have master node of Hadoop, which will have the main storage. So storage is being done at the central location, and all these sensor nodes are merely capturing data and transmitting it to that location. So this is how Hadoop remote client. So having a Linux machine is essential because you have to install Hadoop. On top of it, you have to install Flume, right? So in your case, suppose you are using going to use multispectral hyper camera or other types of sensors which you are usually using, and which is generating a large data. You can simply straight away use desktop computers or laptops or something else, and you can interface your gadgetries directly, because you don't actually have to go on for Raspberry kind of things. So you can scale up. To scale now, this is a very good solution. Okay. So now we can assume that there are a number of such clients or sensor nodes which are spread. So this is the second part, that Apache Flume has to be configured. So Apache Flume is a distributed, reliable and available service which very efficiently yeah, okay, let it. So Apache Flume is can collect, aggregate and move large amounts of data, right? So interesting part of Apache Flume is that it is able to handle larger amounts. So it has been designed like that also. It is designed to stream data flows, and then it is robust and fault tolerant with tunable reliability. So it has many other parameters which ensures failover recovery mechanisms as well. So any data which you are planning to transmit, it is guaranteed that it will always be received. Actually it comes with a source, channel and sink. In fact, channel is not the physical channel, rather channel is a buffer which actually stores your data which is being transmitted. It will create 2 copies of the content. First replica will be sent to the central node and it will be tried to written. If it has been written, then only the original copy of the data from your Flume, your sensor node will be removed, right? So web server in our case is the sensor node which is actually generating the data. Source is the one which is the file. Then channel is the buffer where 2 copies of file have been saved. Sync is the process which actually writes it on the HDFS, right? So if you have multiple sensor nodes, it will be like this, and there you define different types of channels which will actually take up different types of data. So Apache Flume also defines variety of channels. One channel may be useful for text type of data, another channel may be very useful for image type of data, or your the video files as well. So these are the basic rules to configure Flumes. So every agent, so individual component is one agent. Each agent has source, channel and sync. So number one, every agent must have at least one channel. Then source must be allocated to. So if there are multiple sources, multiple channels are to be identified and configured. Then go ahead and accordingly every component must have a particular type. If you have 3 different types, then 3 different channels will be defined. Then comes the big data framework Apache Hadoop, which has Hadoop distributed file system and MapReduce. So companies which use Hadoop as on today is Yahoo, Google, Facebook, Amazon, IBM and many more which you may be found at this. Facebook generates about 1 terabytes of data every hour all over the world. Interestingly, we are able to see our posts almost instantly. We are able to open various images almost instantly. The only reason is that this is a distributed file system. We never know that from which replica our image is actually opening. And it is the Hadoop platform itself which knows where some data has been placed. So even when they are generating 1 TB of data, they are never worried whether where the data is going. So Apache Hadoop, once again, as is said, this is a framework which allows for distributed processing of large data, right, across clusters of commodity computers. We will underline commodity computers means your routine desktops can also be pulled into Hadoop framework. It does not require high-end computing devices because it also covers the failover part. It also assumes that your node will one day fail, and since it will fail, they have already implemented fail-safe mechanism. So your data might be available somewhere. If this node is running some task, as soon as it fails, someone else will take over. So eventually your task will also never go off. And it is highly fault tolerant. It has high throughput because it saves data in replicas as well. So we are able to pull data in parallel. Secondly, smaller chunks of data are placed in blocks. So that gives you very high throughput. Then suitable for applications with large data sets. And then you can even access data while they are also being streamed. For example, if some financial transaction is being done at Amazon.com, first transaction was carried out at New Delhi. So while this transaction was carried out, the credit card details, expiry, name, everything was alright. While they captured and accepted this transaction, they also took the location of the user. Right after 30 minutes, the same credit card was being used from New York, right? So what happened? Number one, this is a real-time transaction, so everyone should be able to complete the transaction in almost within no time delay. However, as soon as this transaction was carried out at New York, they found that name, credit card, expiry date, everything was found correct, but the location was Delhi to New York. So certainly one thing was sure, either this data has been exchanged by someone or this has been hacked. So on real-time basis, you must also verify that no, this data is wrong or this transaction must be stopped, right? So in RAM processing is provided by Hadoop also. So when you have 128 GB RAM in a Hadoop enabled node, this data or the transaction data for the next 3 hours has been placed in RAM itself rather than putting it down into hard disk, which will increase the transaction time. So all these such features have been placed in this. So streaming access can also be done. And this is the Hadoop core component. Basically it has 2 components. One is Hadoop distributed file system, which is taken care by name node. Rather in Hadoop system, everything is taken care by the name node. Name node is the master node. Anything and every request is placed with name node. Name node identifies that if there is some data which is being pushed in, it will be pushed into various data nodes which are the slaves. These data nodes within one single data center or maybe among distributed multiple data centers. Then job tracker is the one which actually tracks the jobs, and MapReduce engine is the framework in which programs are written. So job tracker breaks it into smaller parts, and then respective program is sent to respective data nodes where respective data is available. So this job tracker sends the job to respective slave where data is already available. So rather than that data will go to the program is reaching to the data where immediately it is churned and part of the result is created and is sent back to the job tracker and sent back to the name node for final assembly. So this is how even it happens in SunGrid engine also. So MapReduce is for processing and HDFS is for storing. So this is the same thing which I have told. Name node is the master node with job tracker and data node. Data node are slaves which will receive your data, and HDFS is the distributed file system. And running clusters on commodity hardware, so routine hardware can be utilized. Then this is how the process is done. So eventually everything comes to name node, then name node says where to write this data, connected in pipelines. Then this is the framework for processing. Main program is broken into multiple smaller programs in MapReduce form. Then intermediate data is created. Then reduction, so variety of results come out which are clubbed together to create the output data finally. So the last part is the Apache Mahout. Apache Mahout is a project or library in Apache Hadoop which implements machine learning library. As of now in machine learning library there are many algorithms, classification cluster algorithms already implemented in this in MapReduce format. So any data if already saved in HDFS, Hadoop distributed file system, you can utilize these algorithms which are already written in MapReduce so that it can go into this distributed file system and churn out the data and create the results. And therefore with our 9 MB that data downloaded from that university, we were interested to just see whether it is able to create clusters. So we simply ran the k-mean clustering algorithm on HDFS after saving this 9 MB data into HDFS Hadoop. So k-means clustering is the standard algorithm which has been implemented, and then while running the k-means algorithm on that data set, we were finally able to create 6 different types of cluster, a part of which has been shown here, right? So what we mean is that if it was a 9 MB data, we were able to process. If it was 9 GB of data, we were able to process. If it was 90 terabytes of data, once again we would be able to process without even changing the algorithm, without even changing the weight. Only thing is we require to use Apache Hadoop. So that was our proposal, that computational scalability can be very conveniently achieved by using Apache Hadoop enabled big data framework. So it is the time when we should also explore big data framework, and in fact for creating variety of clusters and things. We are capable enough to create Hadoop clusters with even expandable Cassandra storage, which is a specialized storage for in big data. So that is also possible, and we are also somehow able to process basic algorithms and things. So from academia point of view, we would look forward to actually receive authentic work which needs to be carried out at the expert level. From theoretical academic viewpoint, even 9 MB of data is sufficient for me to teach my student how to do this, right? But for real-time senseful application, maybe climate modeling, we require terabytes of data. We would be happy to share our infrastructure with you, where you can actually even access our cluster through SSH from here itself. Just remote login into our cluster, upload your data, process it, and see whether we can do things together. It will give us an opportunity to learn as well how to actually process larger data, and we will be happy to apply various algorithms and do other things. So thank you so much for patient hearing. So these were a few references. Basically, references are straight away documentation of Apache Mahout, Apache Flume, and Hadoop. This is an open source project, so there are number of users spread all over the world. You will find very good forum to support your queries, right? And then other things are fine. So thank you so much. We would like to hear some questions. If you have some queries. In fact, maybe I would be able to answer to few of your queries. Otherwise, my student is also sitting, who is my shield. So he will be able to actually, he has even implemented a single node Hadoop cluster on his laptop also, and so we will be able to even give you hands-on experience as well. Yes, actually we tried to classify brain tumor. In fact, we segmented image using MapReduce framework, and then I extracted a tumor inside a brain. For that, we actually received some images from Institute of Medical Science, BHU, through tumor data, and it was a 64 CT slice, CT scan slice data. So we had multiple slices, and not only that, on MapReduce we extracted the data. We created a three-dimensional view of that tumor. Actually, in a slice, the way we cut an egg, a tumor has the 64 slices or 32 slices have been created by CT scan. So we had so many images, individual images. Individual 2D image was first extracted, segmented, and tumor was taken out. Then there was a series of slices. So we had multiple slices of tumor itself, right? Now, from the 2D surfaces, we created a three-dimensional surface by interpolation. And this is how we created a three-dimensional tumor, which was now we were able to rotate. So that part was done on MATLAB, but extraction and other part was carried out in MapReduce. So actually, this could be your very good classification problem solver as well in your standard remote sensing imagery, where variety of objects and even ridges and variety of things are to be analyzed. But the thing is that MapReduce program has to be written. MapReduce programs can be written either in Java or Python or C, right? So if we are comfortable with these three languages, you can always work straight away on Hadoop.
Sir, one question. We are talking about the big data.
Yes.
Okay, big data is big in size or something else also?
Both. Big data is not only big in size, it is unstructured data. For example, in Twitter or WhatsApp, sometimes you type, sometimes you upload your image, sometimes you share your video. Now assume and consider the situation when on the other side a server is running which has a database. Now this database is essentially a SQL server. Now SQL database would not be able to actually cater to different types of requirements, right? So no SQL database is the database used in this. So this is how for unstructured data with varying lengths of data, that is defined to be as big data.
Achha, is there any way to extract this data from web? Suppose I want understand what is going on in my study area, what people are talking about.
Yes.
Suppose
Yes, this is how Twitter takes out trends. Twitter data is an open source data you can also access and you can download. Then you can identify actually when you will start working on Hadoop, the very first example application is word count program. Everyone does it. It is a 1 TB of file. Even you can copy some text from Wikipedia or so. Maybe you have 10,000 words. Individual word, now you have to run some MapReduce program, word count program on the 1 TB text file, and you have to calculate number of same words, occurrence of similar words. So in a text, cat is occurring for how many times? So similar is your keyword. Your particular keyword is occurring in this text for how many times? So that is the trending topic.
Okay.
So this is how hashtag works. Hashtag, in hashtag you identify your topic. As soon as you will search, it will identify and extract the number of threads that are running that particular keyword. So this is a realistic actual one which is done.
Okay. And second thing, you told that we can use your infrastructure, whatever
Yes.
you have. Suppose I have terabytes of data here. So how really I will transfer this data to your network?
Use your NKN link.
But NKN again, whatever speed it is, terabytes of data.
Let it take 10 days. That is the only way.
No, but
Otherwise,
is
what
there any
can be
way?
done is physical shipment of
No,
the
is there
data.
any way like can I break the data in multiple pieces, something like that? I can transfer
That is, you don't do anything. You use Apache Flume. We will configure a remote Flume client at this end.
Okay.
We have a 10 Mbps or 100 Mbps of pipe between you and IIT BHU.
Yeah.
At our end, we have a HDFS. So this Flume running at IIRS will be securely transferring this data in a fault tolerant manner at your end, at our end. So the extent of data which has been transferred will be received. The content which could not be transferred will still be retained at this Flume client. So that is why use of Flume is useful.
I have a couple of questions. In your study, what is the sampling time?
See, when we actually use gas sensors, especially thick film gas sensors, they have a sampling time of 30 seconds. Actually, a sensor sniffs gases for hardly 5 seconds. Within that, from steady state, it comes down to from one steady state unexposed to the exposed steady state, and then once you remove the gases, bring it down to normal temperature, once again it will go back to the steady state resistance. So this cycle time is 30 seconds. So as we referred 16 element sensor array, this will have at least, since once again this is a thick film sensor array, so you cannot take more than 2 samples within 1 minute, right? So accordingly number of total samples will be less. However, you can have more number of sensors. In our case, which we referred to as a 9 MB data, it was a reference because from a repository we got a 9.46 MB of data. That's why we straight away referred it that within 1 minute you are generating, 1 hour we are generating this much data. But it is just a reference.
Basically, it is a 1 minute sample data.
in this case. But for example, another experiment which we ran in our laboratory where we had a carbon monoxide and LPG sensor, this is real time data. You keep on exposing, and these Figaro and Taguchi gas sensors which are commercially produced, they don't require any sniffing time and cooling time. So it is simply continuous sniff and they operate at room temperature. So you can keep on exposing. So for that case, we had set time sample to be 250 milliseconds. Every 250.25 seconds. Every 250 milliseconds we were taking. Even you can reduce it to 100 milliseconds because the gas sensor response is very fast in the commercial sensors. So Arduino can do that. Right from even below 100 milliseconds, it can take much longer time or even much lesser time. So that is sampling rate is not a difficulty.
And you used Arduino because your sensors were analog in nature. If I have digital gas sensors, or are they available?
A to D yes,
you
they
can
are.
directly use a Pi and connect it to the.
You go to ebay.in and search for temperature and humidity sensors. So DT118 or kind of small sensors come. They are all digital sensors. Proximity sensors, they are digital sensors. Ultrasonic sensors, they are digital sensors.
No, my question is, if we have digital sensors, we can do.
You can straight away. You can straight away, but once again, you have to check the specifications. Arduino supports voltage range variation up to 5 volts, whereas Raspberry Pi supports voltage variation up to 3.54 volts. So you have to check whether what is the voltage range of your sensor output, and certainly you people are expert in this, so you will have to ensure that the data which is coming at what voltage is well matched. So otherwise you would need to attenuate it slightly.
In your study, is that file I/O time blockage, reading, writing files? Is it a matter of concern? Because you are writing your data into CSV files, and then you are using Flume to transfer it. So is there a
No, that
file
is,
read write time?
there are two implementations. One is real-time transfer of data. So for that, Storm is used. This Flume will not be used. Apache Flume is for static data which transfers things. Then Storm is something which gives you transfer capability from RAM itself. So you would have to check for Storm also. Apache Storm is also very useful, and Storm is used for in RAM programming, and Scala is the language using which you can access that in RAM data directly and do the processing and save your results right back on the RAM itself.
We're talking only Java. And finally, one last question is HDFS. Is this has anything to do with the HDF file format, or is it a, because there's a file format called HDF, which is a compressed file format system. Is that has anything to do with HDFS?
These two are different.
Because as I understand, it is simply Hadoop distributed
File system.
It is a NoSQL database system.
No,
Yes.
that is hierarchical data file system.
No.
That's a different thing.
Yes, HDFS is a NoSQL based database only, no? Is it a file format itself?
It's a kind of file.
This is a file
File system.
format itself. It has, in fact, HBase is one of the database management system which is based on NoSQL.
No, with respect to Harishar's question, can we, with our data, establish an HDFS here and call it through an API at your center for
Certainly.
the data transfer?
You can always do.
can be minimized.
You can always do.
I have one question. Like in case of NPI based solutions, wherever the requirement is there, so in that case is how my program can access these large data sets, HDFS. So is it like any MPI libraries or maybe our file system?
Probably MPI libraries are built in but we will have to check. I have not specifically explored that part. Rashid, can you
That's right.
throw some light on this? So that can be explored.
And in this Hadoop file systems, whenever we have having it, so like is any specific kind of I/O calls we need to make, or like we can use the normal read write.
Normal read write will work.
So like that internally from the programmer the application's perspective, probably the things can be managed by library itself.
By the libraries, by the browsers, there are various different 4 or 5 different types of access APIs or ways to access the database. So it is very well defined in Hadoop manual. You can just go through once, you will find it quite sufficient in such usage.
And in case of HDF files, this chunk size becomes a kind of one of the parameter which helps in tuning your speed. So how can we decide what should be the chunk size? Like in PFS file system, whenever we have, there also we need to have either 1 MB file block size or 4 MB block size. Generally we go, but if you increase, how will it depend?
See, in Flume configuration, we define the file size, the block size.
Yeah, that's what.
And block size can be varied between any range. And as of now, what we did was we had fixed up the block size to be 20 KB only while we were generating real-time files. So even if there was some 200 KB of file size, Flume transferred this file after breaking it in more smaller sizes of 20 KB each, and it kept on transferring it in HDFS. So this is what we have done or what we know. But if your question has some other perspective, then we might not have explored.
Actually, that's good for like transmission, but I'm talking about in terms of access. So like whenever from the applications program, if somebody is accessing, so probably if a larger chunk of block is easier to access than smaller ones because the I/O times will go up.
Probably that will depend on the Hadoop architecture directly, because it is not routine file system, and here content is very much written in replicas. So sometimes your fast speed is due to redundant and multiple copies of the same content.
And in case of SDFS file system, we need to do some special kind of formatting, the way we format our hard disk, the same way it has to be done, or like we can, on the lower level, we can have ext3 or maybe ext2 or file systems, and then FAT file system. On the top of that, you have HDF file systems.
Yeah, on the top of that, Prashik, we did not modify anything, and we straight away installed and it works. So even NTFS file system is also being used. Standard FAT 32, that is also working for us. So I don't think that we required any other formatting of the disk. So it seems to be quite compatible. Probably because it is also fully supports the commodity hardware. So in commodity hardware, routinely you may find different file formats, different disk formats and things. So Hadoop might be running on the top of it.
That's what.
Yes. Yes, certainly. Yes, you will be able to do that.
On top of it.
Yes. Essentially. As I know, sometimes either these libraries are inbuilt and you can straight away call them. If not, then you will be required to write a separate MapReduce program, and using Java you can do that. But it is very well possible, no issues.
How much of the stack is in Python?
I don't know. Python was typically used in In fact, it was a very small program when we used Python while capturing the data in Raspberry. And then onwards, we did not specifically use Python. In fact, in our particular example, it was simply calling a machine library function, so machine learning k-means algorithm. So it was very straightforward. Hardly in 3 commands we were able to cluster it.
So is there any Hadoop kind of spatial extension where you can straightaway use some parallel algorithm that we have? Or should we have to write our own?
That I don't know. I have never correlated Hadoop with remote sensing or GIS kind of thing.
So the major task is, because
Yes,
it is
yes.
the infrastructure, the major task is map reduce, writing the code.
I think what we can do is we can do this experiment
So
actually.
I'm referring to your clustering thing, right? So in our case, suppose we have maybe client clusters or maybe health point clusters. Right? So into k-means, I think does not run in parallel per se. You have to parallel.
No, no, no.
Then
In machine learning library, Mahout, every library and program is already by default written in MapReduce. And MapReduce doesn't require expect you to write parallelism in that program. If you have written in a MapReduce architecture, it is by default able to parallelize and run it in multiple nodes. So probably it will be the part of job tracker which will take care of it. So I think this will be an interesting part to actually experiment with this and actually see whether what are the bottlenecks. One interesting thing may be that if we are the first ones to actually utilize some algorithm in Hadoop, and if we are good enough to open enough to share this, we can share this library in Hadoop with our name. So we will be the international contributor to the growth of that open source system. So that may also be interesting.
see now what I'm understanding is now most of the algorithms are available as found in library that you can.
Very few algorithms. Actually, Hadoop and its libraries and projects, they are at a nascent stage. Many things are already being done. For example, Google, Yahoo or Facebook, they are already using. So the kind of libraries they require, they have written, they have shared it with the open source community, now it is available, right? So when you will go through, you will find there are plenty of algorithms already implemented. But suppose if your requirement is quite specific, it will be very good to write. Certainly you will have to write. Once you have written, it will be good if we share it with them, let people explore and optimize it even further. So one day we will become the contributor of that particular algorithm in that library. So that will also be rewarding.
In one of your slides, you used a term called AVRO, A-V-R-O.
Actually, Flume defines variety of channels for different types of contents. Even for example, the internet access logs of a server. So for accessing or creating Flume channel connected with syslog server, you will have different types of channel already defined in Flume. So in this case, we used Avro channel, which is already configured, defined in what way it works, and it was convenient for us to use for these respective students, so they used it. But there are at least 6 to 7 different types of channels and functionalities which are available. So you will have to choose particular type of channel for your type of content.
What are the other similar frameworks like this kind of thing?
Rashid, do we have any other?
Similar type.
I don't think that there is any alternative to Hadoop as of now. Actually, this is the most nascent, most powerful, most capable platform for big data ever running and being used by such big giants who are really able to handle such big data in such very simple manner. as an end user of Facebook, we never feel that actually it is a big data application and we are actually interacting with that. So I don't think that as of now there is any other similar type of framework which is existing.
Because most of these are setting up the infrastructure, and the rest is maybe writing the map reduce algorithm for
Yeah.
users.
Yes. In fact, what I will tell you is that in your own laptop or desktop, you install one virtual machine. In virtual machine, even you may install VirtualBox or VMware player, and then there in VM you install one simple Linux. I will recommend Ubuntu 14.04. On that, simply install Hadoop and start working it as a single node cluster, right? In that you will be able to write your MapReduce program, run it directly in your own single thing. So for implementing Hadoop and learning, you even don't require a cluster physically. And if you are very much interested to run it in multiple nodes, you create 3 virtual machines in your own desktop, create one small cluster. Michael Knoll is a very good blog writer who has given very good steps to create Hadoop single node and multi-node cluster. So you may note down Michael Knoll. So Michael Knoll is a father figure kind of thing. He is a young person, but he is the one who has created the finally fully implementable code blog on Hadoop implementation, physical installation. So you can do that.
Can we install this Hadoop framework on mobile phones or something?
No.
That we have not
No.
heard of. So I don't think that. But one day certainly these are open source projects. So the way you thought, someone else might also think.
Because the way we are having sensors, the small sensors, the way the link is there.
In
so
fact, we have about 8 to 10 sensors in our own mobile handset.
yeah, that's what.
And even magnetism, magnetic field intensity, accelerometer, even a few of them are giving gas sensors also, humidity, temperature are already there. So certainly, I don't know, but we have not explored whether, but there might be some way. It might not be possible, because it might always be possible to transfer this data from Android to HDFS. कोई ना कोई compatible, there might be at least some compatible library to do that. Okay, so I welcome all of you to please explore the world of Hadoop, right? Partly we will be able to support from IIT BHU also. We will be happy to collaborate with you in regard of knowledge exchange and in actually conducting something. Start with single node or 2 or 3 node Hadoop cluster. See if you are able to do. When you will require large cluster, we have up to 76 node Hadoop cluster. And in fact, very soon we are also going to pull this up on the National Computational Grid. And probably IIT BHU will be the only institute which will share its Hadoop cluster on National Grid. So through National Grid access also you can come to the Hadoop cluster. So that we will explore. And we are also connected through NK, and so we will be able to directly connect and give you access. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
एक
एक
और
और।
1 2 3 और ले लीजिए।
हम्म 3 हो गए
Right.
कैमरा बहुत
ये बहुत
स्पेशल
अच्छा
है
कैमरा है।